Coming up tonight, with the expected arrival of Tropical Storm Fiona, the National Emergency Management Agency held a press conference to put things in order. Plus, school is in. The Minister of Education educates the public on the condition of public schools in New Providence. And His Royal Highness King Charles III holds a luncheon for heads of state in honor of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. The Hour News team is on the ground linking with our Prime Minister. Stay tuned. This is Our News, a weekend edition. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Megan Shepard. This afternoon, the National Emergency Management Agency held a press briefing to update the public on Tropical Storm Fiona and its potential impact in the southeastern Bahamas. State Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for the Disaster Preparedness Management and Reconstruction Unit, Miles Larota, said that earlier today, Social Services, the Meteorology Department, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, and the Royal Bahamas Police Force, led by NEMA Director Captain Stephen Russell, gave Acting Prime Minister and Cabinet Ministers updates on the state of preparedness. Captain Russell said while Fiona's predicted track has taken a more easterly turn since yesterday, at noon today, the Bahamas Department of Meteorology issued a hurricane alert to the southern Bahamas, and southern residents have been asked to prepare for hurricane conditions on Tuesday morning. The NEMA director also said transport is standing by if evacuations of residents of Mayaguana are necessary. If conditions and predictions worsen and it's decided that people in Mayaguana need to evacuate, they'll be leaving tomorrow. As of 2 p.m. this afternoon, Tropical Storm Fiona was still over 600 miles away from the southern Bahamas. Tune in tomorrow for a full report on this press conference. Minister of Education Glenys Hannah Martin given an update on public schools in New Providence. Hannah Martin says that this week there was an issue with BPL at C.C. Sweeting Senior High School, prompting students and teachers to be dismissed early. And over at the Stephen Dillard Primary School, a pump failed, which the Education Minister says was replaced.
It's a thing, and the thing broke down, and it's been replaced. But all the schools are open, all the children in school, and I wish we would concentrate on how we can move forward our young people.
Yesterday marked 1 year since the Progressive Liberal Party became the government of the Bahamas. Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister, Miles Larota, sharing some of the government's accomplishments to date.
I would give the government an A-. I would give us an A+ for navigating our way through in terms of policy. But I live in this world too. There are people who are still hurting, and I would not like to minimize the hurt and pain that is there. We are just 20% into our term. As we go on, people will see further rolling out of the government policy, in particular as it relates to healthcare, as it relates to minimum wage.
The Ministry of Transport and Housing presenting a second set of keys yesterday to first-time homeowners in the Pinecrest subdivision. The nation's leader, as well as the minister responsible for housing, making the presentation to the families. Our Jamila Mizik was there.
And I remember telling myself, Precious, one of these homes could be yours. I'm so sad, so done.
That's first-time homeowner Precious Store. She joins 5 other young Bahamians who now have the keys to their brand new homes in Pinecrest subdivision.
The best part of this experience is watching my daughter look up to me and call me an achiever. And she wants to be like her mom. The next part is the homes, my God. They are amazing.
26-year-old Travis Mott grateful after receiving the keys to his home, saying it is the result of his hard work.
I worked with my dad for when I came out of school, like from graduation. From the next day I was on the construction field working with him. And from there I went into the security field. And I became a supervisor in my department. And from there to now I'm here.
Housing Minister JoBeth Colby-Davis says this is just phase 1 of the project.
Behind is going to be phase 2, and I think that's about 100 or 150 lots. We had to start the infrastructure on that, though. So we'll see forward movement with continuation of homes in Pinecrest. Renaissance is going to be 200 in the first phase. That's going to include condos as well.
Now, residents in Abaco, Grants Bahama, and Andros can expect homes as well. Prime Minister Philip Davis says home ownership remains a priority for his administration.
In our blueprint for change, we committed ourselves to treating home ownership as a basic human right and pledged to increase access to affordable homes through initiatives such as Homes for Bahamians and a rent-to-own program.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
Thanks, Jamila, and congratulations to those new homeowners. The Governor General and Prime Minister are in London tonight, preparing to attend the official state funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, who died on Tuesday at their summer home in Balmoral. The two also had separate audiences with the new king today as well. All this as the City of London gets set to host one of the biggest events in history. Our Jerome Sawyer reports from London tonight.
Fucking in Palace at the moment. Floriferous tribute in 3 hours now closed for a few minutes.
Crowds of mourners grow almost by the hour. London police try to balance the throngs of mourners against safety and control. And every available resource is put to the test. 2 days out, and tube stations and access to places like Buckingham Palace and other tourist favorites showing limited access. Meanwhile, world leaders are touching down here in London by the hour as well. Saturday's arrivals included Prime Minister Philip Davis on his way to an audience with the new king.
I must remember that she is the Queen of the Bahamas, and we need to be able to give respect. We cannot just ignore our constitutional construct or our institutional construct. Institutionally, we had a monarch from 1718, and constitutionally, we had one from 1973.
As Davis was driving off, Governor General His Excellency Cornelius A. Smith was getting back from a luncheon hosted by King Charles and the Queen Consort.
We are very saddened at the passing of Her Majesty the Queen, and we offer our condolences on behalf of the Bahamian people, as well as on behalf of myself and Lady Clara. But we also wish to take the opportunity to offer condolences to the new monarch and Queen Consort, and we hope that they have a most successful reign.
These official events and condolences happening far away from the public expressions of sympathy and admiration amongst the millions on the ground at places like Westminster, Green Park, and Buckingham Palace.
She was just such a good queen. She was someone that wasn't expecting to be put into that position, and yet she sort of devoted her whole life to it and did it to the best of her abilities and served us well. And I think it's the least I can do to show some respect and lay some flowers for her.
And so the countdown is on to Monday's state funeral for Queen Elizabeth. This as the city continues to swell with mourners, dignitaries, media, and well-wishers. The good news is it's a test of a city that's used to holding and hosting millions at a time. In London, reporting for Our News, I'm Jerome Sawyer.
Thank you, Jerome. And still to come on Our News. After taking back the eastern part of their country from Russian military, Ukrainian forces discover over 400 graves in a forest. And the 4.6-mile queue to see the coffin of Queen Elizabeth II paused by British authorities. That's coming up when Our News Weekend Edition returns.
Queen Elizabeth, Britain's longest reigning monarch, will be laid to rest Monday, September 19th, in a state funeral televised around the world. Join RTV's Christina Dragovich and Jerome Sawyer and the Our News team for live coverage of Her Majesty's funeral. Tune in for live reports from London and a look at the Queen's legacy in the Commonwealth and the Bahamas. Watch it live starting this Monday at 5 a.m., September 19th, only on the RTV network. Brought to you in part by Island Pay.
A public-private partnership is being sought for the construction of a new Treasure Key airport, which was destroyed in Hurricane Dorian. The area member of parliament hoping movement begins within this year. However, since the storm, it seems nothing has been done. Berthany McDermott tells us more about what the MP has to say.
Years after Treasure Key International Airport was reduced to rubble by Hurricane Dorian, nothing has been done to rebuild the facility. When our news visited Abaco, officials were operating out of a trailer. When questioned, North Abaco Member of Parliament Kirk Cornish said Deputy Prime Minister and Minister responsible Chester Cooper advised that a public-private partnership will go out for the facility. However, he says his focus is on Grand Bahamas Airport and the Grand Lucayan Hotel, adding that focus will be placed on Treasure Keys Airport after.
His is extremely full of Grand Bahama with the hotel and the airport and the tourist sector as well. So that's what he indicated. Once he started to wrap up Grand Bahama, he would be coming into Abaco, and I told him we are anxiously waiting on him. He indicated to me that he was tired of dealing with Grand Bahama at the moment, but he is working on Treasure Key as well. It will reopen, and of course I'm expecting a state-of-the-art, modern, really nice airport facility.
Following Hurricane Dorian, Abaco residents gathered at the airport, all trying to get off the island. The airport is used as the primary point of entry for second homeowners and others coming to North Abaco, mainly Treasure Key and Green Turtle Key. Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism and South and Central Abaco Member of Parliament John Pinder also weighing in at a recent Abaco Business Outlook.
We are focused on the rebuild of the Treasure Key Airport and a suitable investor for Treasure Key Resort itself, as they go hand in hand in the revitalization of this important economic center.
Corner says he's hoping movement starts on the terminal by the end of the year.
It would have been perfect if we had started from the first one. But of course, being realistic, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be in place. We're engaging private partners, so of course the deal has to be worked out. But hopefully this year, I'm expecting by this year we should have something concrete, something to announce to the public, and something that is really suitable for that area.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Ukrainian officials Friday said they found hundreds of bodies, some with their hands tied behind their backs, buried in territory recaptured from Russian forces, in what President Volodymyr Zelensky called proof of war crimes by the invaders. Ukrainian forces are claiming to have reclaimed the eastern cities in that country. In an interview, Zelensky said many corpses were also interred in other sites in the northeast and appealed for foreign powers to step up weapon supplies, saying the outcome of the war hinged on their swift delivery. Press Secretary, Department of Defense John Kirby expressed his disgust over the situation.
I also want to just take a moment to address the reports that we've been seeing today out of Izium and the potential here for mass graves, which in Izium, as you know, Ukraine just recently liberated from Russian control. The reports that we're seeing just in general are more than 440 graves, which reportedly includes civilians. And it's horrifying. It's repugnant. And sadly, it's in keeping with the kind of depravity and the brutality with which Russian forces have been prosecuting this war against Ukraine and the Ukrainian people.
The queue to see Queen Elizabeth II's lying in state in London was temporarily closed on Friday after reaching capacity. British officials warned of waiting times of at least 14 hours. The 96-year-old Queen died in Scotland last week, prompting an outpouring of emotion that drew tens of thousands out to see her coffin on its journey to London. And that has now compelled many more to join long lines to pay their respects during a 4.5-day lying in state ceremony. The constantly moving 4.9 miles long queue is snaking its way from Southwark Park, then along the south bank of the River Thames to Parliament's Westminster Hall, where some 750,000 people in total are expected to file past the Queen's coffin before Monday morning. When Our News comes back from the break, the President of the Senate gives her views on the first year of the Davis administration as a government. And the no-nonsense Speaker of the House of Assembly also weighs in on the same. We have the details when the Weekend Edition returns.
Queen Elizabeth Elizabeth, Britain's longest reigning monarch, will be laid to rest Monday, September 19th, in a state funeral televised around the world. Join RTV's Christina Dragovich and Jerome Sawyer and the R News team for live coverage of Her Majesty's funeral. Tune in for live reports from London and a look at the Queen's legacy in the Commonwealth and the Bahamas. Watch it live starting this Monday at 5 a.m., September 19th, only on the RTV network. Brought to you in part by Island Pay.
This is our news. Welcome back. A $3 million asphalt plant will help pave the way for infrastructure development in the country. The Minister of Works and Utilities and Baja Mix hosting a commissioning ceremony for their new Aztec asphalt plant on Friday morning. The plant will continue to develop the country's airports, roads, bridges, docks, and ports. General Manager Ryan Ramming weighs in.
The uniqueness of the double-barrel six-pack asphalt plant is that the drying drum was designed to rotate within the mixing drum, hence the name. The asphalt plant is comprised of 6 major components: a set of 4 cold feed bins, each having a 30-ton storage capacity, the mixing drum that houses an interior drum for drying the aggregate.
Minister of Works and Utilities Alfred Sayers says the new asphalt plant is designed to produce 200 tons of asphalt per hour.
Unlike the existing Almix asphalt plant, which was manufactured 17 years ago, the new Aztec double-barrel six-pack is a counter-flow zero emissions plant and is thereby classified as environmentally friendly.
Our Sasha Lightbourne sat down with the Senate President earlier this month, and she spoke about the highs and lows 1 year in. She also spoke to us about some of the things she wishes to accomplish over the next 12 months. One of those things is a youth in Senate, similar to youth in Parliament.
Once again, trying to engage the youth and ensure that they are aware of what the Senate means, and we look forward to those initiatives.
She also shared the larger goal, one she says will reach more Bahamians.
I think that it's vitally important that as a Commonwealth that we stop being so Nassau-centric. It's time for the Senate body to sit in another family island and take the Senate so that people are engaged with and they can meet and touch and feel the members of the upper chamber. So I'll be grateful if our Senate can sit in another family island.
Balance is key. That, according to House Speaker Patricia DeVoe, who said as much when she sat down with our Sasha Lightbourne. She shared more about bringing balance to her family life. Here's that report.
Earlier this week, we ran a piece featuring House Speaker Patricia DeVoe. She spoke to us about the highs and lows of being the House Speaker for the first time and entering frontline politics. We also asked her about balancing the politics with life at home.
It's easy for me because my daughter is an adult, but I am raising a 12-year-old nephew. So bringing balance is what I often have to bring to the table, is understanding my role as a parent, and also understanding my role as an MP, and then understanding my role as the House Speaker. And what I do understand is I put family in the forefront, and I also put Bamboo Town. That's my first job. You know, being Speaker of the House is my second job. They had to hire me in order for me to get this job. So I understand the balance.
Unlike with many mothers, DeVoe is very hands-on with her nephew.
Oh, my daughter is there for me. She's a support team for me. She's been on the ground helping me become who I am today. And my 12-year-old nephew, he's my greatest cheerleader. Okay. You understand? So he understands what I need from him, but I'm also always there. When I get home at night, I'm checking homework, I'm dialoguing with the teachers, and I'm making sure I do my part to be the mother that they expect me to be.
She also spoke about how she deals with her nephew, social media, and how news about her may affect him.
We discuss everything that goes on, why I would have made decisions. And let me tell you this, Sasha, they know me best. The decisions I make are not ones that I'm just off the cuff of my head. I make it sometimes when even the camera doesn't see what's going on. So sometimes I'm challenged because people just don't understand why I do what I do. So sometimes I sit them down and I explain to them, this is what happened, this is why it happened, and we move forward. So if they're challenged, I say to them, listen, you don't worry about the noise. Mommy's okay. Okay, and once mommy's okay, I think they're good.
Reporting for our news, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
Tropical storm Fiona is all set to become a hurricane by tomorrow. Our Greg Thompson is in the weather center with the latest coordinates. The queen of the village, our Jean Joseph, has a sit down with her to see what the village band is all about. Stay close, those details when the weekend edition returns.
Queen Elizabeth, Britain's longest reigning monarch, will be laid to rest Monday, September 19th, in a state funeral televised around the world. Join RTV's Christina Dragovich and Jerome Sawyer and the R News team for live coverage of Her Majesty's funeral. Tune in for live reports from London and a look at the Queen's legacy in the Commonwealth and the Bahamas. Watch it live starting this Monday at 5 a.m., September 19th, only on the RTV network. Brought to you in part by Island Pay.
Welcome back. Alerts have been issued for the southeast Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands as Tropical Storm Fiona is forecasted to become a hurricane by tomorrow. Our Greg Thompson is in the weather center with the details. Greg?
Yes, Megan, we are still tracking Tropical Storm Fiona, which has strengthened to a 60-mile-per-hour system and is continuing to move towards the west. Over the next couple of days, it's expected to move just to the south of Puerto Rico, and then by tomorrow, we expect the system to be tracking through the gap there between, or threading the needle as we speak, through Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. Moving across the southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos Islands, you guys should feel the effects of this system. Not really across the southeast, but just slightly to the east of the southeast Bahamas. Turks and Caicos Islands, you guys will experience both the brunt of the system in terms of weather and winds, and the southeast Bahamas, including Acklins and Crooked Islands, Turks and Caicos Islands, Maguana, and Inagua, you guys are asked to continue to monitor the progress of the system as it continues to track towards the west and northwest. The system is anticipated to become a hurricane later tonight or possibly into tomorrow. So that's the reason why we have an alert issued for the southeast Bahamas as well as Turks and Caicos Islands. Impacts from Fiona will include flooding, some gusty winds, rough seas, and as I mentioned, those will start to impact you guys late tomorrow and into Monday, Tuesday time frame. Rainfall associated with this system anywhere from 2 to 4 inches and possibly even up to 4 to 8 inches in some isolated locations. Turks and Caicos Islands, once again, you guys are going to be under the gun, and rainfall will begin to produce possibly some flooding in your areas. So continue to monitor the progress of the system over the next 24 hours. Boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas, your winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knot, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Your low tide will be at 8:32 tonight. For the central and southeast Bahamas, we're asking you boaters, especially in the southeast Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, to remain near port. And by tomorrow, we are likely to ask you to remain in port. Easterly winds at 15 to 25 knots. That should be a small craft advisory. Winds, your seas actually will be 4 to 7 feet over the ocean, and we anticipate those winds to be picking up tomorrow as well. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast. Isolated showers across the Bahamas through tomorrow. That's courtesy of a frontal boundary that's still to the north of us. But everything across the southeast and central Bahamas hinges on what Fiona's going to do. And as I mentioned, it's likely to make a hurricane status by late tonight and into tomorrow. Continue to monitor the progress of this system, everybody. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe Saturday night, everybody.
Thanks, Greg. Selah Mooney is one of the few Bahamian women leading bands, the front woman of the village. Join our Jean Joseph as he hears from her about bending genres and gender roles.
Hi Bahamas, my name is Selah Mooney and this is the Village Band.
Selah Mooney has played at music festivals throughout the U.S.,
opening for Rock and Roll Hall of Famers George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelic, and publicly endorsed by Grammy Award-winning artists like India Arie and Diane Reeves. COVID-19 forced her to put her dreams on hold. She was homeless at one point as she ran out of money, stuck in the US because of the borders closing. She eventually returned to New Providence, where she has been showcasing her skills as a bass player, something women are not usually known for. Selah Mooney is the leader and only female in the Village Band, a group reimagining the Bahamas' sound.
We love jazz, we love hip-hop, we love pop music, R&B, and we love our music as Bahamians. We love Bahamian music. We try to blend it all together. We reimagine Bahamian classics. So a lot of people that come out, they tend to access they'd be like, oh, remix another Bahamian classic. So we do a lot of that.
The multi-instrumentalist, composer, songwriter, arranger, producer, and now leader of the Village Band says the many gender-influenced obstacles she's faced have been daunting at times. Still, she is creating her own lane and shifting the gender narrative. She says the band's environment is nurturing and they want to bring light to listeners.
The biggest thing about the Village is that we are a community, we believe in each other, and we push each other towards our dreams. And again, we want to help heal this world through music.
Band members Cyril Thompson on keyboard, Zayvan Colebrook on percussion, Sean Cunningham on drums, and Mansa Campbell on trumpet are all talented musicians in their own right and have pledged allegiance to the Queen of the Village.
They respect me. They respect me, and I appreciate that because I've been in a lot of spaces where I was not respected. So being a part of the Village, it means a lot to me.
The band performs 8 to 10 p.m. Wednesday nights at Syrah on East Bay Street and has a special show 7:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. September 30th at the National Art Gallery. They have dedicated the show to King Harrison, a Bahamian Motown musician whose solo on the Sugar Hill Gang's rap song Apache is the most sampled in history. You can visit the Village Band 242 on Instagram to learn about the band and their events. Reporting for R News, Arts and Entertainment, I'm Gene Joseph.
We thank you so much for joining us for our News, a Weekend edition. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Megan Shepard. Continue to have a safe and wonderful weekend.